Zimbabwe schools calendar shows that schools are supposed to open on the 5th of May 2020. On the other hand, Zimbabwe's lockdown was extended by another 2 weeks up to the 3rd of May 2020. Parents are concerned with students' safety in the face of coronavirus pandemic. What then happens to students sitting for their final examinations this year? What options are available? Hello and welcome to Fifth Row with Reggie. Please subscribe to the channel. Whilst announcing government's decision to place the country under 21 days lockdown to combat the spread of coronavirus, Zimbabwean president said, and I quote, "Following concerns from parents as well as representations by the educational sector, government has decided that all schools and tertiary institutions will now close on Tuesday, March 24, 2020 as a precaution against the outbreak and spread of coronavirus." The president further indicated that his government would advise on schools reopening dates. No such announcement has been made. But we all know that schools were supposed to open on the 5th of May 2020. What then is going to happen? Well, let's look at 3 possible scenarios. The first scenario is that schools reopen with caution and exercise precautionary measures. This calls for strict preventive measures to ensure the safety of students. Necessary conditions will have to be met for this to be possible. This includes 1. Observing social distancing. This calls for decongestion of our classrooms and dormitories. Some government schools currently have enrollments of up to 70 pupils per class, which makes social distancing impossible. There is need to maintain distances between desks and beds in dormitories. At least 1.5 meters is recommended. This means sharing of desks will not be possible. There is need for single student desks. 2. Hygiene. Washing of hands with soap or use of sanitizers. Personal protective equipment like face masks and gloves for both teachers and students. Regular disinfection of classrooms, dormitories, and all other school facilities. 3. Access control. Screening of students and visitors at school gates. This includes temperature checks through use of thermoscans, travel history, and other such controls. All these requirements cost money, and it is doubtful that the ministry will be able to provide necessary equipment before schools open. Scenario 2. Stagger schools opening and start with final examination students. That is grade 7s, ordinary level, and advanced level students. Such an arrangement will decongest the schools in all respects and allow for social distancing. The need for student screening, personal protective equipment, and disinfectants remains, but will now be limited to a few students. All other students can then resume school once the threat of the pandemic has receded. Scenario 3. Scenario 3 entails delaying schools opening until COVID-19 has been contained and a safe learning environment has been created. This might take 3 months or more. This is in line with predictions by the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Media, Information and Broadcasting Services, Nick Mangwana, that schools were likely to reopen in August and run until Christmas. Mr. Mangwana said this during an online media workshop recently. Whichever option is chosen, there is need to keep students learning. It was reported that the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education was working on ensuring that students continue learning from home through online platforms such as Zimsec, Ruzivo Digital, e-learning, and such other platforms. Most of these platforms are privately owned with resources that are provided free of charge, although some premium books are sold. However, there are a number of challenges affecting this e-learning initiative in Zimbabwe. The first one being the lack of necessary technologies, as most students do not have access to computers. Most students live in rural areas where there is no access to electricity. Since e-learning platforms are internet-based, the cost of data in Zimbabwe makes these platforms inaccessible to many. There are other initiatives by teachers and parents to share school materials on various WhatsApp groups. This caters for all grades from ECD up to advanced level, but is again affected by the cost of data. Our neighbors, South Africa, have gone a step further and introduced broadcasting in addition to e-learning platforms. Educational programs in that country are now being broadcasted across 3 SABC TV channels, 2 DSTV channels, and 13 radio stations. I believe more still needs to be done in Zimbabwe by our Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education and other educational partners to ensure that students resume learning again. Thank you for watching, and please remember to subscribe to my channel. You can also like, share, or leave a comment below.